All right, take two. Um, Real quick before I start, I'm just going to do an out lap and then one lap. Since it's such a long track, I'm not doing two laps. Posting two quali setups. This one that I'm using has enough fuel to do a full out lap and one lap for practicing doing quali. The other one just has enough fuel for one lap since in the race you'll only have time for one lap and you start right at the beginning of the lap. So that's why there'll be two posted. Yeah, so I'm only gonna do an out lap and one lap. So I was missing every breakpoint and every apex on my first try, which is why I'm doing this again. Alright. And since I'm not doing two laps, I'll start talking about stuff on my out lap. And here, I like to stay in third. I feel like you can go to second, but you have to upshift so quick that it's not worth it. Looking for the concrete on the left, braking just after it. You can push entry and exit there on the right and left, but I just don't think it's worth it. In quali, you only have one lap, so you don't want to risk the 1x, and in the race, you're going to have draft, so it doesn't matter if you lose a 10th. You can just pull it right back in. Up here, just after the 200 board, I'm looking at the end of the guardrail on the left. So right here. Getting into second. Staying right, so that way I can get my rotation, straighten out, and get on the throttle early. Which is kind of the story with all of these corners. You want to be on throttle as early as possible, so that way you're carrying speed down the straight. Up here I'm looking between the 1 and 200 boards, maybe slightly closer to the 100, so like 150 if that was a board. And then again, staying left here, and so that way I can get rotation and then get on throttle early. Up here, there's a cone, which is, I believe, at the 100 board. I'm going after that, but before the curb on the right. So kind of halfway between them. Down into first, getting all my rotation, and then trying to straighten up before I get on the throttle. Got on the throttle a little early, so my rear slid a bit there. But yeah, same story. You just want to be on the throttle as early as possible for these straights. Here, I'm looking for the 100 board or the green grass right here. Down into fourth, back on the throttle, then into second, up into third. White line on the left, just after that. I was a little hesitant on the throttle there. I thought I got on the throttle too early and I was going into the wall, so I lifted a bit, which is why I'm losing a 10th or two right here down the straight. The 100 board here, I'm braking just after it. Into third. Gonna feather the throttle. Staying a little right. Stab the brakes for rotation. And then stab the brakes for rotation again. And again here. Here you definitely want to stay to the right to set up this next left-hander, which I didn't do super great. And that's about as far right as you can get on exit there before you get to slow down. Right in the middle of pit entry on the right there is where my brake point is, into second. And I stay in second here for the second chicane. It feels like I should be going into first, but it seemed to be faster in second. Looking for the discolored pavement right here, into fourth, get turned, back on the throttle. That first white line is my next brake point, into second. And then again through here, lift, but stay in third, and then still staying in third here. Concrete on the left, just after it brake, get turned onto the throttle. You can push both entry and exit there further, but that's about as far as I care to go. Just because, like I said, there's no point in risking a 1x during quali or a slowdown during the race. And then again here, the guardrail, end of the guardrail right after the 200 board. Down in a second, stay right, and onto the throttle early. If you really trust the grip, you can send to that with some more speed. And then here, a little after, halfway between 1 and 200 boards. Down in a second. Get turned and then get on the gas early. Don't tap the limiter like I did there. So down here, after the cone but before the curb on the right, depending on how confident you are in braking, you can wait a decent bit almost at the curb on the right. I almost got a slowdown there. I did that in a race when we did the other layout, cutting that corner on the right. I thought this lap was chalked. I thought I got to slow down there, but you definitely don't want to cut it as much as it looks like you can cut it. 100 board, back on the throttle in a second. You can kind of cheat on exit there. That gravel's not going to kill you if you go out and touch it. I didn't on this lap, but you're not going to lose time if you get on throttle a little early and then dip into the gravel. Just after the 100 board. And then brakes for rotation. And here again, hugging the right. Hopefully I can get this a little bit better. I might want to go in a fourth there. I've never tried that. That's my worst corner, that left-hander. Very inconsistent. Braking a little early. You can cut the left a little bit more than I've been doing, but that last sector was pretty poor. But that's all you're getting out of me. I'm not spending another 10 minutes on this again. Yeah, but with a lot of the corners right before the straights, there's no real reason to push unless you're in the lead or you're struggling to make a draft pass, because the draft's just gonna pull you right back in. And as always, don't forget that you're going faster in draft, so back up your brake markers and don't rear end me.